Welcome to your video introduction into the darkroom. I'm just going to show you a few of the areas around here that you're going to need to know about as you start working with old-fashioned developing in the darkroom here. So to begin with, this is the wet area, so this is where all the chemicals will be and where you'll be performing the developing. Chemicals are stored underneath, and it's really important that you look closely at the labels for which ones should go where. I will be assisting you with helping out on getting things put the way that they're supposed to be. But the process is your developer is going to be in this first container, and that's for 2 minutes. Then you have a stop bath, which will be in this container. And then the red container is going to always be for the fixer. That's the chemical that's the most harmful that we need to be very careful with. All of these, you never want to use your hands. You want to use your tongs to move things through the process, so you're never touching the paper with your hands. Down at the very end here, this is the wash, so this is where we'll be running water to clean off our photographs. This is where you'd turn on both of these on just a little ways and create a vortex of water that will spin the prints around and wash them off. You can leave your prints in the wash till the end of the hour. And if you do something at the very end, we can leave it in there and I'll have the next group remove that for you. All right, so now I'm getting into one of the stations here. This is what an enlarger looks like. We've got a light on the top here that's going to be shining light through a negative carrier, and that's where your negatives will be placed. Or if there's no negative in there, it's just a box of light. It'll come through this lens. And that lens, we can adjust an aperture on to adjust how bright or dark things are. So that's the aperture adjustment. That'll display light down onto the surface here, which leads us to what this is. This is a frame that you can use to hold paper in place and kind of set up how things are going to look. The frame has two sides. There's sides for smaller size prints that we'll do, and there's also an 8x10 size, which is the larger size paper that we use here in the darkroom. Over here, this is a timer. Now, most of these timers were donated to the school, and very few of them actually work. So you'll actually just be counting off in your head for exposure times here in the darkroom. But you can turn it on and turn it off just with the flip of the switch here. So that's going to be what we'll adjust the light to be turned on and off to start and stop your exposure. The other things that are important to know over in the developing station, there's a handful of these. These are used for when we're working with film to adjust the focus. You can look through here at the same time as adjusting on the knob on the side of the enlarger the focus for your image. If your focus is off, your whole image will look blurry, even if it may have been in focus when you took it. So that's what you'll use that for. It just enlarges a certain part of your picture to be able to see closer to it. This is a piece of mat board that you'll be using to create test strips, and I'll go into how you create test strips in a little while here. Always important to have some way of labeling your work because we'll have about 30 or so students running through the darkroom here, and it'll be real important that you know which is yours. Blue tape is also going to be nice if you choose not to have the frame and you just want the image to go directly to the edge of the paper. You can tape your paper down to have it be, no borders at all, but you need to have it be completely flat, otherwise the image won't be in focus throughout the whole paper. Over in this part of the darkroom, you're going to find a little area that has test strips and prints. Never open these in the light. This is only when we have the darkroom lights on. Test strips is how we know the exposure time that we're supposed to use for our prints. And print paper is after you've done all the testing you need to and you're ready to go use the more expensive sized paper for us to make the finished artworks. So back here, this is where we're going to hang up our film to dry after we're developing film. But all that will go through as we go through the class here. So we have working stations in here. We have about 13 that work. Some work a little bit better than others just based on the working condition of the enlargers when they were donated to us. So we'll work through there. That's why we just have half the class working here at a time, because it can get a little bit tight if we have an entire class in here trying to develop pictures all at once. So that's going to be it for our first little demo here of what's going on in the darkroom.